World War II was a brutal proving ground, exposing just how fragile even the most advanced warships could be. Across every major navy, one by one, the mighty heavy cruisers fell. It wasn't always a flaw in their design, but the rapid evolution of tactics and technology they simply weren't built to face. Let's start with the USS. After 8 years of pre-war service, its wartime career lasted a mere 9 months. A seasoned veteran of the pivotal carrier battles of the Coral Sea and Midway, the Astoria's end came at the Battle of Savo Island, caught in a perfectly executed trap, ambushed in total darkness, and suddenly illuminated by enemy searchlights. The ship was overwhelmed by concentrated point-blank gunfire. This battle-hardened asset was lost, just as it had truly proven its worth. Ironically, after proving itself in modern carrier warfare, the Astoria was destroyed in an old-fashioned night gun battle, a valuable lesson that forced the U.S. Navy to drastically improve its night combat tactics. Next, the Fiume, an Italian Zero-class heavy cruiser, built with a doctrine of superior protection. SHE boasted a massive 150mm armor belt and powerful 8-inch guns, essentially a floating fortress. The Fiume's impressive armor proved useless against an enemy it couldn't even detect. At the Battle of Cape Matapan, the Fiume sailed blindly into a British ambush. Thanks to a significant gap in radar technology, the British fleet surprised and destroyed the Italian cruiser at point-blank range. The Fiume's 10-year service career was tragically cut short in just 5 minutes, during its first and only major fleet battle. This was a catastrophic blow to the Italian Navy, which lost 3 heavy cruisers that night. HMAS Canberra was the pride of the Royal Australian Navy. After serving for 14 years, she was the flagship of the Southern Screening Force before her loss at the same battle as the Astoria, the Battle of Savo Island. Expected to be a powerful flagship, HMAS Canberra was unable to fire a single shot in her own defense. She was crippled by 24 hits in under 2 minutes. Strong evidence suggests the first critical damage came from American friendly fire, followed by devastating Japanese torpedoes and shell fire. The loss of the Canberra caused an immediate collapse in the Allied command structure. In a sad twist of fate, the ship was critically wounded by friendly fire from an American destroyer she was supposed to be defending. In Erono, the U.S. Navy later named a new heavy cruiser, the USS Canberra. The Algérie was a French naval engineering masterpiece that never realized its potential. Commissioned in 1934, she was scuttled at Toulon in 1942. On paper, the Algérie was arguably the perfect heavy cruiser, balancing powerful guns, superior protection, and good speed. But after the French armistice, she remained under Vichy control and never fired her main guns in a major battle. Her expected role as a dominant warship devolved into simply rotting at anchor until she was scuttled by her own crew. The scuttling of the Algérie was a self-inflicted strategic loss, born of political paralysis. This powerful warship, which could have been a game-changer in the Mediterranean, was simply removed from the global naval chessboard, deemed too valuable to be captured by the Germans. HMS Exeter was a celebrated Royal Navy cruiser, famed for its 1939 victory against the German pocket battleship. After extensive repairs, she was sent to the Pacific. But in the Java Sea, the battle-hardened hero was ultimately outmatched and overwhelmed by superior Japanese forces. Exeter's destruction was a methodical execution. Intercepted by an overwhelming force, she lost all power after a critical hit to her boilers and was systematically destroyed. Her loss marked the final nail in the coffin for the Allied naval defense of the Dutch East Indies. In a cruel reversal of roles, the celebrated hunter of the Admiral Graf Spee was herself cornered and hunted down with no chance of survival. The USS Quincy was a modern New Orleans-class heavy cruiser that served as the flagship for the marine landings on Guadalcanal. Caught in the same deadly ambush off Savo Island, the Quincy was completely surprised and illuminated by Japanese search. After 6 years of peacetime service, she was sunk in her very first major fleet engagement. The loss of the Quincy and 3 other heavy cruisers at Savo Island was a strategic disaster. It exposed critical vulnerabilities in Allied night tactics and plunged the Guadalcanal campaign into crises for months. In a final defiant act, the Quincy's captain turned to engage the enemy, but this brave decision sailed the ship directly into an inescapable Japanese crossfire, sealing its fate. The story of the Japanese heavy cruiser Mikuma is not one of glorious combat, but a tragedy of mishap. A veteran warrior, Mikuma's 7-year career spanned multiple theaters of war. Her loss, at a critical moment after the Battle of Midway, was a strategic blow for the Imperial Japanese Navy. In a bizarre twist of fate, Mikuma survived the main battle with only minimal damage, successfully avoiding the air attacks that sank for Japanese carriers. However, her fate was sealed by a collision with her sister ship Mogami. The collision ruptured her oil tanks, leaving a slake that revealed her position to Allied aircraft. Expected to be a dominant combatant, her end was accidental, lost not to the enemy, but to an unexpected mishap. Then there is the Blücher, a modern German Admiral Hipper-class heavy cruiser. She served as the flagship for the invasion of Oslo in April 1940, and her story is one of pure humiliation. Meant to lead a swift, decisive strike, she sank on her very first combat operation. Blücher's fate was sealed by aging Norwegian coastal defenses. The first shells knocked out her fire control center. From the first shot fired to her sinking, the entire engagement lasted a mere 2 hours. The irony of her sinking was profound. The very guns that sent her to the bottom were built by Krupp, the same German company that had manufactured her own armor plating. The Furutaka was commissioned into the Imperial Japanese Navy in 1926. By 1942, after a long service of 16 years, she was an older vessel, better suited for a secondary role. However, she was thrust into a frontline position. At the Battle of Cape Esperance, Furutaka was ambushed by American forces, who were aided by a significant radar advantage. In the ensuing fight, she was struck by approximately 90 shells and a torpedo that flooded her engine room, leaving her dead in the water before she sank. 2 months after participating victoriously at the Battle of Savo Island, she was destroyed in nearly the same manner that had brought her victory, in the very same waters, as it was one of the first times a Japanese cruiser was defeated in night combat. Finally, we have the USS Indianapolis, a distinguished Portland-class heavy cruiser that served from 1932 until its tragic sinking on July 30th, 1945. After successfully delivering its top-secret cargo components for the atomic bomb, the Indianapolis was expected to rejoin the fleet for the final invasion of Japan. But while sailing unescorted, it was struck by 2 torpedoes from a Japanese submarine and sank in a mere 12 minutes. The ship had a long and decorated service record, earning 10 battle stars. Tragically, it was sunk just weeks before Japan's surrender. Captain Charles McVeigh survived the horrific sinking, but his ordeal was far from over. In a controversial move, he was court-martialed for endangering his ship by failing to zigzag. These stories show us the harsh realities of naval warfare, where even the mightiest ships could meet a sudden and often ironic end.